Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about maybe the most important construction project on Earth, building a human brain. So in the next few minutes, we're going to unpack the science behind a child's early years, meet the visionaries who basically designed the modern preschool, and figure out what it really takes for a child to thrive.
Let's kick things off with this powerful idea from Mahatma Gandhi. This really gets to the heart of it, you know? It reminds us that education isn't just about cramming facts into a kid's head. It's about helping a whole person grow, body, mind, and spirit. And that whole project, it starts on day one.
So why do we hear so much about these first few years? What's the big deal? Well, it's because this is when the brain it's like a construction site on overdrive. We're not just talking about learning colors and shapes here. We're talking about laying down the entire neural foundation for a lifetime of learning.
And get this, the source material we looked at points to this super critical window, the first 4 years of life. During this period, brain development is at its absolute peak. A child is literally learning faster than they ever will again, building the very architecture of their future mind. It's just incredible.
And that incredible pace of development, that's exactly why preschool is so powerful. It's this dedicated space where kids are forging new neural pathways every single second. They're learning crucial social skills like how to listen, how to share, and what empathy even means. It's where they build the confidence and independence they're going to need for all the learning that's still to come.
You know, the modern preschool, it didn't just appear out of thin air. It was shaped by some truly brilliant and visionary educators. And there are two in particular who really stand out. Their competing ideas basically created the blueprint for every early childhood classroom you see today.
Okay, so the best way to wrap your head around their different approaches is with this really cool analogy, the gardener versus the architect. So on one side, you have Frederick Froebel. He gave us the word kindergarten, which means children's garden. The teacher is a gardener, gently nurturing a child's natural growth through play. Then on the other side, you have Maria Montessori. She created the children's house, where the teacher is more like an architect, carefully designing the perfect environment for a child to discover things on their own.
And you can thank Froebel for this next time you see kids playing with blocks or singing songs in a classroom. He totally got it. He understood that for a child, play isn't just, goofing off. It's the engine of real learning. It's where they find joy, freedom, and discovery. It's serious work.
Okay, so we've got these big, powerful philosophies. But what does a child's development actually look like, on the ground? How does a tiny, helpless baby turn into a walking, talking, thinking little person in just a few short years?
It's really tempting to think of growth as just this steady, straight line, right? A kid learns one new skill, then the next, just climbing a ladder. But nope. The actual process is way more dynamic, and honestly, a lot more interesting than that.
So instead of a straight line, think of it more like a spiral. A child takes a big leap forward, learning something new. But then they often kind of circle back. They practice and really nail down what they've learned before they leap forward again. It's this beautiful, natural rhythm of progress and then mastery.
And to help us understand this spiral a little better, we can look at the work of famous psychologists like the one and only Jean Piaget. He was one of the people who really mapped out this whole journey, breaking it down into these distinct stages that show us how a child's thinking actually evolves.
Now, for the little ones we're talking about, we're really focusing on his first two stages. First up is the sensory motor stage. This is from birth to about 2 years old, and it's when learning happens completely through the senses: touching, tasting, seeing, putting everything in their mouths. You know the drill. Then you get to the pre-operational stage, from 2 to 7, which is this totally magical time when language and symbolic thinking just explode.
And this chart, this is where it all clicks. It translates those abstract ideas into real-world milestones that you can actually see. So for example, a baby first masters the skill of sitting up on their own. Then they move on. They try to pull themselves up to stand. But you'll see them go back to just sitting a lot, mastering that balance in new ways before they really conquer walking. That's the spiral in action. Each new skill is built on a stronger, more solid foundation.
So, with all this incredible growth happening, how do we best support it? Well, it all starts by understanding that a child has this ladder of needs. And here's the thing, intellectual learning is important, for sure, but it can only happen once a really secure foundation is in place. The psychologist Abraham Maslow came up with this great visual for it, a pyramid. And you have to start at the bottom. The very base is all about the absolute basics: food, water, rest. You can't do anything without those. Okay, once those are met, a child needs to feel safe.
Then, above that, comes the need for belonging and love. Then comes esteem. And finally, way up at the top, is reaching their absolute full potential.
And honestly, this brings us to the most important point of this whole explainer. It's the big so what of it all. Before a child can even think about learning or exploring or achieving anything, they have to feel safe. They have to feel loved. They have to feel like they belong. That emotional security, it's the non-negotiable foundation. It's the launch pad for everything else.
So this leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. We've seen the science, we've looked at these incredible philosophies, but in a world that is changing so fast, with AI and everything else, what does the ideal children's garden or children's house look like today? How do we adapt these timeless principles to build the foundation for a future we can't even really imagine yet?